it.
I was moosing it.
Moosin', get out of here. Is it going?
Yep.
Okay.
It's going.
All right, so we're going to learn how to use a rotary cutter and mat with a ruler. This is a very efficient way of cutting your fabric, because if you're using scissors, a lot of times what happens is sometimes you don't have the best scissors, and I get people that do like weird kind of curvy lines, and then you have like a piece that doesn't really work for what you're trying to do. You need a straight line. So let's go over some safety features of our rotary cutter. This is basically like a pizza wheel, but it actually has a razor blade on it. So if you can look, can you zoom for me? Okay, there is a safety guard on it. So it exposes the blade and then it covers it up. There's a little lever that you can disengage for it. Whenever your rotary cutter is not in use, it needs to have that blade cover on it, because many times if you just brush up against it, it will cut you. And most of the time, the people that aren't paying attention well enough to remember that they need to cover up that blade are the ones that are always asking for my help, and then when I come over, your blade is exposed and you're trying to kill me. Please don't do that. So whenever it is not in your hand, even if you're just setting it down to readjust your fabric, that blade cover needs to be on, and it should be a habit that you get into. All right, so I'm gonna take my fabric. This fabric I've already washed, so it's pre-shrunk. I've ironed it because it was uneven, and I have folded it in half so that it's a little bit easier to deal with. If I have a giant piece of fabric trying to work with, obviously it's not gonna cut. So I'm going to do half the work here by folding it in half. All right, the folded side, I am going to have towards me. Now, I'm right-handed, so all of my fabric is gonna go to the right. If you're left-handed, you do it the other way. All right, so I'm gonna line this up as straight as I can. This is basically just a number line of how I'm going to measure. Now, I totally screwed up this cutting edge. I kind of did that on purpose, and both sides aren't exactly even, so I want to have them even when I start. So I'm going to take my clear ruler, and I'm just going to use that as a straight edge. And with the ones that we use in class, there's a little lip that goes on the edge of it, which is kind of nice because it just kind of snaps over the end of it. I mean, it's still movable and it comes off, but it allows you to have it more straight instead of trying to cut and then it kind of wiggles out. All right, so I'm gonna line it up on this end and this end. Shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. All right, I'm ready to use my rotary cutter, so I'll disengage the safety features so that I can actually use the blade. Now, I'm going to put most of my weight on my left hand. I'm actually gonna be up over the fabric. If I were to be sitting down and trying to do this, I can't get as much pressure into it. You do have to press pretty hard on it. Enough that hopefully you get it in one pass. So, ta-da, that worked. Now, if it didn't go, I don't wanna see people that just kind of rock back and forth, because when you start doing that on your fabric, you get kind of these chew marks on it, and then it's never really a straight line. Push hard, one slice. If you don't get it with one slice, take your scissors and then go back over and cut it. It'll make an indentation in the fabric where at least you'll know that's how far, or that's where you're supposed to be cutting. All right, I'm going to be cutting out 2-inch strips for a project that I'm working on. Now, the clear ruler really helps because each one of these is an inch, so I can put this on top and measure 2 inches that direction to know, okay, 2 inches here, 2 inches there. I can make a nice straight cut. Again, anytime that rotary cutter goes down, that blade cover goes on. All right, well, what if I'm making something that's a little bit more than how wide my ruler is? So this is a 5-inch wide ruler. What if I'm doing something that's 6 inches long? Well, that's where the numbers on my mat are going to come into place. Now, sometimes people will, let me turn it around so it works a little bit better. I'll say, okay, I need to measure something at 6 inches, and they line their fabric up at 1, and then they'll count to the 6. All right, I'm gonna cut right here. Well, I don't know about you, but on a number line, it doesn't start with 1, it starts with 0. There is space here that I am not accounting for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is only 5 inches. So I'm gonna move it down. So I'm starting at 0, 0. And now I can do it at 6 inches. If I wanted it at 12 inches, I could do that, or 18. Again, just kind of lining it up. And really, it kind of takes a little bit of practice to know how to distribute your weight, because when you first start, all the pressure is against this part of the ruler. And then if you keep the pressure from the heel of your hand, while you're up here, this kind of moves a little bit, so then you get a little bit off track. So it's kind of like, I always say it's kind of like walking on ice. You just have to very carefully redistribute your weight throughout the whole cut that you're doing. Ta-da! All right, so that's a way to make really straight cuts. Always, always, always remember, what did I do? What did I do wrong? I didn't put the safety guard on. Get in the habit of doing that. The end.